In my journey around Britain, listening to people's stories and how Brexit is affecting them and how they're feeling, we've come to South Wales, an area that voted to leave. But I'm really intrigued to find out today how people are feeling 2 years after the vote, after the referendum. Fran, it's wonderful of you to take the time to talk with me today. Thank you very much. So if I can bring you on to Brexit, we can talk about how did you feel at the time? Were you involved in the referendum? Did you vote?
I did vote, and I actually voted to leave. I think my generation, now I think back, I don't think we should have been allowed to vote, to be honest.
Well, not at all.
No, because I don't think it really affects us. And as I started looking at my grandchildren, and then when you're looking at what's happening and what's not happening, and as I say, I think I grew up in the 50s and the 60s, all right? And I think I still had the rose-tinted Empire spectacles on, to be honest.
So you saw Brexit as an opportunity to perhaps go back or capture some of that?
To capture some of that.
Yes.
And I think since Brexit, I've realised, no, you can't go back.
You said earlier, which was very interesting, that you don't think your generation should be able to vote. What about the fact that 2 years ago, there were sort of something like 2 million 16-year-olds who are now 18 and it's their future?
And I've spoken to a few of those and they said, it's not fair. And talking to my daughter's generation, the 40-year-olds, they're at the stage where they can do more travelling and, how easy was it to pop over to Europe? And my grandchildren, as they grow up, what opportunities, could they have in Europe?
So is that one of the main things that you change your mind now, is looking at your children and your grandchildren?
That's the main thing. Yeah, I think, what have I done? What have I spoilt for them?
So do you wish, maybe it's a leading question, but do you wish you could vote again?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it.
I'm 27 years old. I'm starting my master's degree in October, and I also work in a bar in Mayfair in London.
What are the plans going to be like for you personally post-Brexit, or as Brexit unfolds? How are you feeling?
I'm very concerned on the basis that I'm very worried about a no-deal Brexit. I'm worried that for people like me, graduates, even who have very good degrees, I'm worried that once we leave the single market, we leave the European Union, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people like myself and tons of other people as well. I've briefly I've seen people where I work who are from France or Germany, who have run business, and I hear them say the problem with you English people is you don't even know what the European Union is.
That's a very interesting
And I think that's true. We don't have an education about it. We don't get taught this thing at school. It's only if you decide you want to do politics at university, for example, you can find out what it's all about.
I have to say, I think that's a big problem, that we haven't learned our own history, actually, and how it's connected with the EU.
I mean, I think one of the big issues of Leave voters was immigration. And now, well, for a start, there's Article 7 of the European Union says, you can send people back if they haven't got a job.
Of course.
And I think we're one of the only countries in the EU that doesn't implement that policy. And I think that's ridiculous for a start.
So we have actually got control.
We've got the tools, and also I think with leaving the European Union, we have to look for immigration from elsewhere, from other parts of the world. And that's fine. Personally, I don't care where people come from to work in this country. I'm all for that anyway. But if we have to look elsewhere, it doesn't mean immigration is going to go down. It might stay the same or even go up. And I don't think leaving the EU controls that at all.
Gaynor, it's really lovely of you to take the time to speak with me today. Before we start on the topic of Brexit, tell me a little bit about you and your family and how you came to Wales, or are you Welsh born?
Right, my father is Polish. He came here just after the war. He married a local girl from Ferndale because he came to work in the mine up in Mardy at the time.
That was hard work.
Yeah, it was hard work.
So 2 years ago, when the referendum was coming close to it, how did you vote?
I voted to leave.
Okay, and what was your thinking? Why was that?
My thinking, that time it was the immigrants, they were trekking across Europe.
So those images on TV and...
Yeah, which I find very powerful, and that influenced me.
And so what changed for you?
As I said, I've had discussions with my grandson and my daughter.
Do you think that, I mean, your daughter, your grandson, you said your eldest grandson, I mean, is he worried for how, has he said anything to you?
He's passionate about having a people's vote.
Oh, is he?
Oh, very passionate, yeah.
Because for him, I suppose, in his 20s.
Yes, it's the start of his life, really, isn't it?
And so he and his friends, he think they just worry, are they? Just very worried?
He is very concerned for all aspects of it, whether it's employment or whether it's freedom of movement. He's concerned about all aspects. The younger grandchildren, obviously, there's no interest. He's constantly going to events around the place and doing flyering and getting people to sign up. So he's not just talking about it, he is actually going out there and getting involved.
Like so many of my talks and interviews and meeting people around the country, it's really struck me that there is a real panic. People on a very human level, emotionally, are very concerned, not just about themselves, but their families and the opportunities that are facing the younger members of their families. In particular, the older generation is saying, put us aside. This is about our children and our grandchildren.